Hello everybody and welcome back to, my channel, I guess? Everything else here is probably new. I'm not using GIMP this time, I'm using Clipstudio Paint, which is my preferred painting tool. And this is not Middle-earth, this is my world. My book world. I'm creating it in Medieval 2, and I thought you might want to come along for the ride and see how I'm doing it. Again, I'm still learning the process, but I am figuring it out. So what I have done is I have put the map from the front of the books on the top layer here on the right, and it is transparent. I drag the transparency down to 50%, and sometimes I make that layer invisible, and then when I want to see it, I make it visible. And that's gonna let me, like, that has told me where to put the lake, the absolutely massive freshwater lake that sits directly south of the primary human civilization. I say freshwater, but you don't actually want to drink from it. It's gnarly. The water's nasty. And it also told me where to put this river, and also where to put these mountains. I'm going to do the rest of the mountains too later, and these hills, and this little thingy up here. But, yeah, this is mapheights.tga. And this, I've figured out that this is probably the most important image for editing the map, because when you put water on this map, it is the map that puts it on, that it gets rendered from. Water on the map features map, never mind, on map ground types. This is the old, I'm having to start over. I did a big old attempt earlier, but I found a hard limit in the Medieval 2 engine, and that is how much water you can have. I put way too much water on this map. So, I had to zoom it in. The map is technically the same size, but it is more zoomed in and there's less water on it. And that should work better, in theory, while still giving me plenty of room to play around and to add in the factions that are at play later on. When I want to create mountains, first of all, this is much brighter than it should be. It's going to get darker because they're not going to be that tall when I get done. However, when you want to make mountains, what I do, this again being Clipstudio Paint, not GIMP, is I click on the strong anti-aliasing option over here, and I make, let's see, yes, it's already the right color down here, RGB. When you're doing elevation, these three numbers have to be exactly the same, okay? They can be, well, don't do 0, 0, 0, but you can do 1, 1, 1, and that's going to be your lowest elevation, and that's the darkest one. And it can be as high as 255, that's the highest possible elevation, although if you have something on your map that is actually that tall, it will cause some really serious problems for the battle map creator. I have been looking around on the Total War Center forums for modding guides, and what they say is that for passable terrain, you shouldn't have it higher than 100, and for impassable terrain, maybe go as high as 150. But if you want something that is not even going to show up on any battle map because it's so far away from any accessible terrain, then yeah, you can have it as bright as you want it, basically, up to 255. However, we're going, for now, to stick with 200, 200, 200. And using the G-Pen tool... Okay, G-Pen is really, really important. Just like as the... Look. What you see here is that there's no feathering around the edges. And that is really important for water, because you don't want any distortion in your water, until of course you do, because I think that's how you create smooth coastlines as opposed to the jagged triangle coasts we're gonna see a little bit later on here. And how you do that is you do anti-aliasing at none, and then your opacity needs to be full, 100%. That's the only way to get completely smooth edges with no distortion. However, for mountains, we actually want distortion. Oh yeah, I'm doing the water and the elevation on different layers. I'm doing the water on a different layer from the elevation because, well, basically I want to be able to smudge and color on the elevation layer without worrying about distorting the water. The water needs to stay the same color all throughout. Any distortion of the water results in a glitch on the campaign map. So, for mountains, I'm going to make the book map visible, and I'm going to draw on it at 200, 200, 200 with the G-Pen at strong anti-aliasing. And that is what that looks like. This mountain range is called the Chintaira mountain range. I'm not entirely sure what the people who live there would call it, because I haven't made any conlangs for them, or even really thought about... It's like that. It's so far removed from the main events of the book that they're not very well fleshed out yet. I do know a lot of goblins and orcs live there, possibly some elves. And humans live everywhere, okay? Everywhere on this map you can find humans living in some condition or other. Except later on when we do the tunnel system. Humans do not like to be subterranean creatures. At all. Okay, now we have this. You might notice that it does not look like this. This, by the way, is not done yet. I kind of started recording in the middle of working on that. But I'm going to show you what we do to make this act mountainous, instead of, as Gigantus would put it in his Creating a World basic mapping guide, what he would refer to as rice paddies in Cambodia. We're going to use the blend tool. I like to use the fingertip and the blend subtools. Usually I do fingertip first and then blend later. And what the fingertip tool does is it lets you create these feathered edges that really look... They really sell that mountainous feel that we're going to be going for. And you can make something look both uneven and natural. Or rather, a natural type of uneven. Which is what you really want with mountains, isn't it? You can stretch stuff out, and you can stretch it in. Both of which are very useful and necessary for this stage of mapping. Put a little, put little valleys in here where the valleys are. Stretch it up, stretch it down. Create the roots of the mountains. And although it is by no means complete, you can see how it's beginning to look a lot more like mountains and less like just rock mesas. Rock mesas can be cool, maybe you want to use those somewhere, but not this big and not all over the map. So basically for the rest of this, you're gonna see it in sped up real fast time, and I'll get back to you when I have something else to say. Okay, so it's beginning to look a bit mountainous now, but it's still not there. Also, this area here is supposed to be quite hilly and reflect the fact that it's under mountains and leading to mountains. So basically, we need a new tool. And for that, I go to the airbrush. And this can also be really useful when you're creating mountains, because the way I've got the droplet subtool set up right now, it creates this kind of leafy, earthy situation on the ground there. And if that's not creating a mountain, then what's it doing? Look at that. Look at that. That's a great way to make a mountain, isn't it? However, we're not here for mountains right now, we're here for hills. So, we're gonna go to the soft tool, make it big, and we're not gonna want that much. Let's hack the brush density down to 20. Yeah, that's better. We don't want the elevation to be super high right next to the river, because that will create unwanted cliffs down into the water. However, that's not to say that we don't want any of that. It can be very interesting and scenic terrain, and also explain a little bit why a river is so bendy in some places. So we'll have a little bit, I think. But I am going to remove a lot of this now. Like, right now. This, actually, we're going to stretch out and bring it into this area. And this is exactly why. This is precisely the reason why we use 2 different layers for water and elevation. Because sometimes you need to do this. And you don't ever want to be smearing your water when you're doing that. Make the size a little bigger. Still using the fingertip. Haven't even gotten to the blend yet. Just make it look a little bit jagged, a little irregular. Like that one person said in the Aliens remake, or not remake, prequel, in the Alien prequel, God doesn't paint in straight lines. So just paint some not straight lines. Make those lines as gay as possible. We do want some irregularity out here as well. It's just gonna be that the river needs to flow as much as possible through a low point in the elevation, so that it can have carved out that low point for itself over the course of millions of years. That is a natural way to create a low point, but it needs to have that low point on the map, and we're gonna have to give it that. And yes, we will be going back through all of this again many different times, and creating reasons for things to be the way they are. Reasons for things to be the way we made them. Okay, let's go back to the airbrush. Grab this color, 444. Make it a little smaller. Still on soft. And just give it that low point. Not everywhere though. So, around this little lake area, that needs to be pretty low. And then we can also create little little inroads, little places that are it's like just jag it up. Lots of happy little hills. Go the extra mile to please your inner Bob Ross. Happy little mountains, happy little hills, happy little rivers. Later we're gonna do some happy little trees. Let's get the droplets in on this a bit. The opacity is already 15%. Let's drag that down to 10. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's creating exactly the kind of jaggy irregular texture that we want. Perfect. It's beautiful. Now we go back to the primary height, 200, 200, 200, and we do the same thing. Not quite that much though. Let's make the thickness a little bigger, opacity even lower. Yeah. I think I made those particles a little too big. Okay. Back to the darkness. Do it again. Except we up the opacity again. I believe the texture that is being used with this subtool is like a grass or a leafy type of thing. Let's do soft again, and bring some of this up closer to 35. Give the river something to bend around. Back to droplet. Wait, no. Is that what I mean? Yes. Yes, it is. There we go. Now, smudge again. Make the east side of the river a little more regular, a little lower. A little bit smoother. Okay. Let's do some more droplets over the rest of these mountains, make them more irregular, more jagged, more mountainy. Not that much. And I'm gonna come over here and do that to this one as well. Might not be the right time for it, but, you know, if you wait till you're ready, you'll be waiting for the rest of the series of unfortunate events. And that should look pretty mountainous when we fire up the game and start going. Now down here, I want to... no. I want to go ahead and make the map look more like the map. So... more speed painting. Okay, now down here. This is gonna be partly marshland, so we need a lot of it to be as low as possible. So we're gonna use the G pen again at full opacity, and we're still gonna use strong anti-aliasing, but you can see it's still gonna absolutely erase some of these hills that I've been making. And basically the reason why I'm making it so very low, I mean, it was always supposed to be kind of marshy, parts of it, but if you look at this river, this absolute abomination of a river, what you will notice is that it splits a lot. And part of that I am disavowing completely. But this stretch of it, that doesn't exist, or rather, I'm gonna split it into 2 different rivers, so that we at least don't have this horrible family tree type amalgamation. Rivers do not split in the real world very often. When they do, it's usually on flattish terrain in rocky areas or marshland, and specifically, marshes they're basically shallow lakes with a lot of, or very deep lakes, I guess, potentially, but lakes with a lot of muddy islands in them. A whole lot of muddy islands. So many muddy islands that if they're dry enough, you can walk across them, build bridges over the narrowest parts of the water. And this map, it has so much splitting going on. When I first drew it, I was not very good at rivers at all. There are so many places where they split. This one, this is good. This is much better over here, this system, because rivers join together all the time. Basically, I, like many people, thought it would be, like, I heard about the Europeans looking for the Northwest Passage in America, and I thought, well, how could something like that actually exist? And basically, it could exist if a river split and one went eastward and the other went west. And there actually is a river that does that, but it's not navigable. It is a real thing in America. It splits in the mountains. One side goes to the Pacific Ocean, the other side goes to the Atlantic. However, you cannot get a boat through it. Too many waterfalls. So I was fascinated by the idea of being able to get a boat across a continent. So I had all these river systems where that was possible. And like I said, some of them I'm disavowing. I'm gonna not paint them that way because they wouldn't be that way. Others exist because of marshland, okay? This one down here, this is, first of all, lakes typically only have one outlet, and these all join up into a single river later on. And that's iffy at best, but I'm gonna call this marshland. And then these 3 are all connected, they split, so that has to be marshland, at least down here somewhere. And then this is just completely untenable. It has to be changed. This can be marshland, and this can be marshland. It is a very marshy area. It was going to be anyway, so we just need to use that and apologize profusely for the unrealistic face of the map. So in particular, the areas where the rivers are going to be splitting need to be really, really flat. Really, really low. And over here, yeah, let's go ahead and keep that. And then, as well, let's also just say that we want a whole lot of marshland anyway, even where rivers aren't splitting. Not on this side. This side is not very marshy. This one actually is man-made. Okay, these rivers all exist... They all existed basically as they are, with more or less the same beds, the same tracks, the same passage. But this here did not exist when the Potamians first arrived. It came to exist because they wanted to be able to... like that. Basically, there's two streams that they run parallel for a short distance and then go in opposite directions around a small high point. So let's get back on airbrush. Get elevation 21 and give them a small-ish high point. Smaller. Yeah, like that. A smallish high point for them to diverge around. And we will add those rivers on the map features graphic later. And this whole area can be a little bit more hilly, because this river split, it's not naturally occurring at all. If it was supposed to be naturally occurring, it would be completely irreparable. I would just have to delete this spur of river and pretend that never happened. But what they did is they carved a channel through the high point and connected the two rivers in such a way that there's a little bit of, like about 5 to 10 feet of water between it's a canal. They made a canal that they could get their boats across. And that was like, I forget how many hundreds of years ago I said it was. It might have been just like 100 years ago, but that wouldn't really make sense. 100 years ago was a really weak time in their history, because there was an orc king down here who was making trouble for everybody, conquering the former holdings of the Southern Goblin Empire called the Zanik Empire. It was a gnarly time for them, so I don't know why 100 years ago they would be doing that. Anyway. This area, basically there's 5 human cities in this area that are part of the same realm, but in the same kind of way as Crusader Kings has people being part of the same realm. Each of them is uppity and they don't like each other. Sancipio, this one in the middle, the big one, they're the ones who are in charge. Their duke is called the Archduke, and then the other 4 are each ruled by just a duke. And this northern one is called Weeds, and that is probably the most important one to the books. The southern ones, Sancipio and Meranna and Divano, they are extremely fertile land. And there's good farmland in Weeds and Alpano up in the north as well. However, those two are more focused on mineral extraction, mining. And there's going to be rivers that feed into these navigable waterways that I've pushed in here. Eventually, I hope to make these deep water, the type of water that is only navigable by heavy ships, but we're going to flip it around so that the heavy ships are actually light ships, high-floating river ships that are not very good statistically, but do have the ability to go into inland waters. That, however, we do not do on this map. Basically, you just pick some brush settings that you like, fiddle around with them, find what works for you, and go hog wild. Make some happy little mountains. Now, as for the hill situation. First of all, let's go to let's do 70. And just do that. And that's going to be our little Morzag tower. Obviously, it's significantly larger than it would actually be. It's just a little tiny. It's tiny. His tower is tiny, but it's his house. his tower is his house, so it's not actually anything like that big. That's probably high enough for these hills, but we need them to be more hilly. A little tiny itty-bitty bit smoother. These are not mountains that we're trying to create here. Although we actually do want... yeah, let's bring them up a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, about that. Perfect. Actually, no. No, it's not. There. Now it's perfect. A little bit of hilly terrain up here. I think we're in pretty good shape. Now, I have just saved my work. However, this file is not... This is a workshop file. It's not actually in the map folder. So we're going to want to go to Export Single Layer as TGA into Mods BearGeoMod Data World Maps Base. And it's already called Map Heights. We just need to save... Yes, okay, and it should be good to go. However, we need more than just that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go Control-A, Control-C. No, actually, wait. Okay, first, we're actually going to change the image resolution. On scale, put 0.5, then we remove the 1, change that to a 0, make sure that the interpolation method is hard edges nearest neighbor, otherwise you will get distortion. We don't want distortion. Do that, there we go. Now we Control-A, Control-C, go to Map Regions, just ignore that. That's the old version. Transparency to 50%. And since our water is on a different layer from our elevation, we're going to want to do the same thing again. Control V. Yeah. 50%. Make sure that we are on map regions. And you remember how I stressed that GPen's ability to make hard edges with no anti-aliasing? Remember how I stressed that that was important? No distortion? Well, this is where it's important. We color pick the ocean color. Also, I believe this is a different RGB value from down here. Yeah. It's 3 different on the B. These are red, green, and blue. The colors are 2 gradients different from each other. That's because they're different sea regions, because you don't want people who have ports on this sea trying to send naval invasions over to this side. So we have 2 sea regions. We're going to use this one. We show ourselves the water, downsize our brush, and fill in the water. Yeah. This is very time-consuming, and I like to listen to podcasts while I do it. Specifically, I listen to D&D actual play podcasts, and of these, I most strongly recommend Tales of Bone and Ice by my friend Brian and his family and their friend. It's a great little story. They're all pretty good voice actors. You know what? No, actually, they're all great voice actors. They're funny, they're raunchy. If you like D&D, especially if you already listen to actual plays, try giving them a listen, see if you like it. Lately, however, because I'm all caught up on Tales of Bone and Ice, I've been listening to Girls Who Don't D&D. And that, also, I find highly entertaining. The new sea color has reached the old sea color, so we need to fill that in and start fresh. I also can recommend Dames and Dragons. That's been a favorite of mine, and of Brian's. I'm a big fan of their style. And, you know, the world building in that particular podcast, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. I actually really like the custom pantheon that they've got going on there. If you don't listen to podcasts, maybe you could put on some music or the news, I guess. Sometimes I listen to Vosh in the background. You got tons of options. Don't make your painting time just your painting time, okay? You can do 2 things at once. The only reason I'm not is because, well, I am. The only reason why I'm not listening to something right now is because I'm recording something right now. Otherwise, I would be all over some podcast or other. I mean, sure, you could do just art, but that would get so boring. I guess I'm just saying the option is there to keep yourself entertained while you work. It helps. Or at least it helps me. Your arm will get sore, and so will your eyes, so remember to take regular breaks. Please. For the love of dogs. There's no middle management cracking a whip over your back if you stop working for a little bit here, so take time to relax. Unlike me. Shit. I just realized that I used the same color. The AI is gonna think that they can send boats from here to here. Great. Okay, start over. Color pick and go down 2. There. Finally, that's done. Now, we get this one. Paste that in there. But no. Get that. Paste. Make sure we're painting on the correct layer. Color pick 000. That's gonna be our city. All our cities. Zoom way in, see where to put them. Put one here, put one. Where exactly here? Let's put it here. And then this one goes down here. And this one goes here. And this one goes here. Now there's a little bit of a problem with that. And the problem is that these cities are all in the same region. So what we need to do is we need to color pick to this region. No, never mind. That one will stay where it is, more or less. Actually, we need to put down another settlement, and we will do that here for now. As to which region was which in the beginning, this one I think we can safely say was Weeds. And this is not what the final map is going to look like at all. I just need to get it serviceable so we can boot up the game and see if everything's working. I forget which one was London. No! No! This one became London. I was wrong. I remember now, I think. Unless I'm remembering wrong this time, but... You know, people are wrong. Mistakes are part of life. Every mistake you see me make is one that you don't have to make yourself. Oops. You may be wondering why I'm not using the bucket fill. Well, that's because the bucket fill in Clipstudio Paint is extremely unfriendly. Hang on. Let me see if I can show you. Okay, look. See this? This is distortion. Maybe it would go faster to just do that and then fix it afterward, but personally I find the I feel that it's less work overall to just be careful the first time. One thing about the Medieval 2 engine is that on this map you want, especially on a larger map, and especially with a small number of settlements, to have them control a more or less even distribution of territory, or you will start getting crashes. That's what I hear. I have not actually witnessed it myself, but I believe the people who said that. Okay, I have realized that we have this handy thing right here, Desker Regions. So, it's going to tell us which color to use for which city. This pink one starts with 232. Meaning that it is Merana. This one down here. The Potamian civilization is pretty heavily inspired by medieval Italy. But not exclusively. There's a lot of stuff here from other places. Probably the one that's going to jump out to people the most is going to be America's antebellum South. And all that that implies. Took a lot of inspiration from John Brown's Rebellion. But the look and feel of the civilization of it comes from Italy. This area down here used to be an elven kingdom in which the elves spoke a language related to Greek, and the humans just spoke actual Latin. And the people who settled up here in Potamia, they came from here because I wanted to create a Romance language, specifically one in the Italian language family. And, well, I can't promise that my conlang makes logical sense as a language, or as an Italic language, or a Romance language, or as anything, but it was fun to make, and I still enjoy using it, so I do plan on making a conlang feature of it someday for the channel. But it is not this day. Okay, now this one, I believe it is the London. I mean, I know it's the London, but it starts. Wait. What? Oh my god, they both start that way? Okay, but this one ends with 46. Meaning that it is Divano, which indeed is this one. So, which one is Sancipio? Sancipio is 230, 30, 35. This color, which is not confusing at all, oh my god. I'm sorry for hurting your eyes. If it were a bigger area, I would recommend changing it to a different color first, and then changing it back to this red. But it's small, so no worries. Just get it over with. Plunge in. Make yourself a plunger. Okay. This one, the green one of the two green ones, starts with 10. That would be Kurnow, which I'm going to rename, obviously, but it's not gonna start out. There's a lot left to do. A shit ton of this mod is just getting started, okay? You are witnessing the birth of a mod. I'll change the name later. And lastly, this one. Stretch it all the way over here. Single pixel. Plop it down right there. Overwrite this one. I believe that is all of our regions exactly where we want them for now. So we save. Because this one is not a workshop file, this is the actual image. Now, map ground types. For the moment, we're just going to grab low fertility, huge pen, wipe this all out. Save. Yes. And let me see. Maybe it will launch now. Let's find out. Hey, it launched. Okay, it still might crash. But we are in. Look at these beautiful heights. Okay, they're not... look, I'm gonna have to make them a little less uniform, a little more... Gonna have to add more valleys. However, it's a fine start. Oh, I forgot all about you. You guys, you are not where you're supposed to be. You were in the cities to start out with. But look at this. Oh yes, it is so nice. I think Alpano... Whoa. Alpano... I named it Mountainy. And it's not supposed to be that mountain. It's not supposed to be that high up the mountains. Okay. A little bit, yeah, but I'm gonna have to bring this down somewhat. And then we'll make a nice little spot in here to add a river. Does the coastline crash it? No, we're getting a lot of stutter, but no crashes yet. This is beautiful. A fine start. A very fine start. Gonna have to change the climates all over again, but gonna have to change everything. Everything's gonna have to change. I'm a little surprised that it's working as well as it is. But it is. Yeah. Yeah. And the chintairas are looking suitably ragged. Very nice. I like it. It does need work, but I like the way it is. Little tiny itty bit of water up here. I'm not gonna run out of how much we can use this time. However, the coastline is still full of these little triangle bullshit things. Gonna have to figure out a way to smooth the coast. There are ways to smooth the coast, I know, because I've seen them used. The Divide and Conquer map is fantastic. Very, very smooth coasts. And I'm fairly confident I will be able to figure out how to do that. But for now, this is what we're stuck with. Where is the... What? Yeah, this, but where... I put hills on this map. Where are the... Oh, they're probably under the shadow that is no longer where it needs to be, yeah. Okay, well... Where is the hillock? There's supposed to be some elevation stuff going on. I must have just made it not nearly tall enough. Because I'm having trouble finding the one place with the big old boob sticking out of the ground. That's not it, that's where it used to be. Ha! Here we go. That's a little too big. I'm gonna need to make that smaller, but it's okay. That's a-okay. Let's toggle _FOW and see if we can find the wow, okay, the hills that I was so proud of are not looking very hilly at all. Maybe it'll look different after I apply the hill texture, but this lump, that's about how tall it all ought to be, so I'm gonna have to... I've got a lot of work to do on that. A lot of work to do on the whole thing, but I'm quite pleased that so far we have not crashed. That's a big old relief. And I love being more zoomed in. I like that a lot. And the cities are all in the right place. Excellent. That was a big concern. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna end this video here, and I'll probably do more videos later, but this is where this section of my modding journey that you get to come along for will conclude. But there will be more coming down the line at some point. Toodles.